Have you ever had one of those days, or even weeks, when it feels like the universe is simply working against you? No matter how hard you try, things just don't fall into place. You give your best, yet everything seems to slip through your fingers. The financial pressures keep mounting. The relationships seem strained, and it feels like success is just out of reach. It's as though you're stuck in a cycle of frustration and struggle, running on a treadmill but never moving forward. But what if I told you there's a profound, ancient teaching, hidden in Buddhist wisdom, that could change everything? What if I told you that there is a simple, almost secret practice, one that, when embraced with the right intention, could actually begin to align the energy of the entire universe with your deepest desires? What if, with just a small shift in how you think and act, you could start attracting abundance, wealth, success, and prosperity into your life? Now, I know what you're probably thinking. That sounds too good to be true. How could something so simple make such a big difference? Well, stay with me for a moment, because by the end of this video, I'm going to show you how this powerful Buddhist principle can work in your life. You'll learn how to tap into this hidden energy, an energy so powerful that it could turn your financial struggles around, open doors you never imagined, and even make the impossible possible. This isn't just about wishful thinking or positive vibes. It's about learning to shift your mindset and actions in a way that unlocks the natural flow of abundance that is already available to you. And the best part? Most people don't even know about this practice. But today, you're about to discover it. So, if you're ready to take the first step toward transforming your life, to unlocking a power that has been there all along, stay with me. The journey starts now. Part 1. The hidden power of Buddhist wisdom. In Buddhism, there's a concept that often gets overlooked in the hustle and bustle of everyday life: the idea of right intention. It's a simple yet profound practice that, when aligned with the energy of the universe, can lead to dramatic changes in our lives. This teaching isn't about wishful thinking or mindlessly chanting mantras with the hope that the universe will somehow deliver. It's about cultivating the right mindset, one that creates the optimal conditions for prosperity and success to naturally flow toward us. But before we dive deeper into this, let's explore why this Buddhist teaching is so effective. In the Buddhist worldview, everything in life is interconnected. Our thoughts, words, and actions are not isolated from each other. Rather, they are part of an intricate web of cause and effect. In the same way that a pebble thrown into a pond creates ripples that expand outward, our intentions have the power to affect the world around us. When we focus on cultivating positive, generous intentions, we create an energetic field that attracts the right opportunities that would have otherwise been outside our reach. This concept is not rooted in magic or superstition. It's based on a deep understanding of how energy works in the universe. When you align your intentions with compassion, generosity, and selflessness, you activate a force that is far more powerful than mere luck. It's the energy of alignment, your thoughts and actions becoming so harmonized with the world around you that the universe begins to work in your favor. It's like tuning an instrument to the right pitch. Everything starts to resonate together, and the world seems to open up in ways you might not have expected. Now, you might be wondering, what does this have to do with financial success or achieving your goals? Well, one of the most essential practices in Buddhism that embodies this principle is generosity. You may immediately think, generosity? What does giving away my money or possessions have to do with improving my own financial situation? It's a valid question, but the answer lies in understanding that generosity in Buddhism isn't just about giving away material wealth. Generosity is about offering your time, your attention, your love, and your compassion to the world around you. It's about giving freely and without expectation, because when you give selflessly, you open the channels of abundance in your life. Think of generosity as a practice of abundance consciousness. When you give, whether it's time, resources, or kindness, you're sending a powerful message to the universe. I trust that there is enough for me and for others. I am not limited by scarcity. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that if you give, you'll have less for yourself. But Buddhism teaches us that true abundance comes from an open heart. When we give without expectation, We signal to the universe that we are open to receiving. And, in turn, the universe responds by sending more opportunities our way. One of the most striking aspects of Buddhist generosity is the idea of dana, which translates to giving. In the Buddhist tradition, giving is not just about material things, but it's about giving from the heart. The Buddha himself taught that when we practice generosity, we not only help others, but we also free ourselves from the attachment to our possessions and our own limited ideas about scarcity. When we let go of the fear of losing, we create space for greater things to flow into our lives. Let's pause for a moment and consider a real-life example. A friend of mine, let's call him James, found himself struggling in his business. Despite working tirelessly and investing all his energy into his company, he was barely making ends meet. One day, a fellow entrepreneur suggested that he practice generosity. "Give more," she said, "not because you expect something in return, but because it will shift the energy in your life." At first, James was skeptical. He felt that his financial situation was already dire, and he didn't see how giving more could possibly help. But after some contemplation, James decided to try it. He started by volunteering his time at local charities, offering his expertise to others without charging a fee, and helping a few friends with their businesses. Soon after, he began to notice subtle shifts in his own business. New opportunities started coming his way, partnerships, clients, and even unexpected investments. Within months, his business started to thrive. What happened? James didn't magically receive money because he gave. Instead, he opened the door to a new way of thinking. By practicing generosity, he stopped focusing solely on his own lack and began to trust that the universe would provide. His generosity created a ripple effect that not only benefited others, but also brought positive energy back into his life. It was a perfect example of the Buddhist principle that when we give freely, we open ourselves to receive even more. Generosity, then, is not just an act of kindness. It is a spiritual practice that aligns us with the greater flow of the universe. It removes the fear of scarcity and opens the door to prosperity. And the beauty of it is that generosity doesn't have to be limited to money. It can be as simple as offering your time to someone in need, sharing a kind word, or even listening attentively to someone who needs to be heard. Buddhism teaches that the energy of generosity doesn't end when we give. It continues to flow outward, creating connections, opportunities, and experiences that enrich our lives. When we align ourselves with this energy, we begin to attract more of what we truly desire, whether it's financial success, love, or personal fulfillment. It's a natural process that comes from working with the universe, rather than fighting against it. Part 2. The Hidden Gesture. Now, let me share with you a simple yet profoundly transformative gesture that can change everything in your life. It's a practice so subtle that many people overlook it, but it's one that can dramatically shift your financial situation, your relationships, and even your overall sense of well-being. This practice is often referred to as the act of giving without expectation. But here's the twist. The key isn't just about giving, it's about where you give. In Buddhist teachings, there's a powerful concept regarding the energy of sacred spaces. The idea is that certain places hold more spiritual significance than others. These sacred spaces are not necessarily physical locations like temples or shrines. They can be found anywhere in the world, a quiet corner, a hidden spot in nature, or even the space within your heart. But the important thing is that these spaces hold a special vibration, a higher energy that resonates with the universe's natural flow. One of the most profound practices in Buddhist culture is to hide a gift, a gesture of kindness, in a place where no one can see it. This isn't about seeking praise or recognition. It's about giving in such a way that it remains completely private, completely anonymous. Whether it's leaving a small token for someone in need or quietly performing an act of service for a stranger. The magic of this practice lies in the fact that you're not doing it for personal gain. You're doing it simply because it resonates with your inner truth, and it aligns with your deepest values. Imagine leaving a small amount of money for someone who's struggling but never telling them it came from you. Or perhaps, you make a donation to a charity, but you ensure that your identity remains hidden. The beauty of this gesture is that you're giving not for the sake of personal recognition or gain, but purely for the act of kindness itself. And in doing so, you create an energetic shift, not just in the lives of those you help, but in your own life as well. In Buddhism, this kind of generosity is called dana, which translates to giving or charity. But it's not just about giving material wealth. It's about giving your time, your attention, your love, and your compassion without expecting anything in return. The act of giving, when done without attachment to an outcome, creates a flow of positive energy, an energy that, over time, will begin to manifest in more tangible ways, like financial abundance or unexpected blessings. The hidden nature of this act, doing it in private, is what makes it so powerful. It's easy to give when we expect something in return, whether it's gratitude, recognition, or praise. But the true power of giving comes when we do it without any desire for acknowledgement. The Buddhist principle of selfless giving emphasizes that by acting from a place of genuine generosity, we allow the universe to respond in kind, without any conditions or limitations. Think of it as planting a seed in fertile soil. You might not see the result immediately, but you know that eventually, that seed will grow into something wonderful. Similarly, every act of selfless giving is like planting a seed of positive energy. At first, the changes may be subtle. You may not notice an immediate improvement in your financial situation or circumstances, but over time, as you continue to give in this quiet, anonymous way, the energy you've set in motion will begin to return to you in unexpected forms. One of the most beautiful aspects of this practice is that it fosters trust in the natural flow of the universe. When we give selflessly, we stop seeing ourselves as isolated individuals trying to make it on our own. Instead, we become part of a much larger web of interconnection, where everything we send out into the world eventually comes back to us. It's not always in the form we expect. It might come as a new opportunity, a sudden financial windfall, or even a new connection that opens up the path to success. But the important thing is that by giving without expectation, you open yourself to receive in ways you never could have imagined. Let's consider a real-life example to bring this into perspective. There's a well-known story of a man who was struggling financially and emotionally. No matter how hard he worked, he couldn't seem to break free from his difficulties. One day, feeling desperate, he came across an old Buddhist monk who shared a simple piece of advice: give, but do so secretly. Don't expect anything in return. The man took this advice to heart. He started small, anonymously leaving gifts or performing acts of kindness for those less fortunate. Over time, as he practiced this hidden generosity, something began to shift. His financial situation improved, his relationships healed, and he felt an overwhelming sense of peace he had never experienced before. This story is a perfect example of how the hidden gesture works. It's not about how much you give or the scale of your generosity. It's about the intention behind it and the fact that you're offering from a place of pure compassion and selflessness. When you give without expectation, you are not only transforming the lives of others, but you're also opening up the channels through which prosperity and success can flow into your own life. In Buddhist philosophy, there's a teaching that the more you give, the more you receive. This isn't a transaction, but a principle of balance. By creating space for others to receive through your actions, you are also creating the space to receive blessings in your own life. And in doing so, you become a channel for positive energy, helping not just yourself but the world around you. In essence, this hidden gesture of giving is a profound practice that sets in motion a cycle of abundance, both material and spiritual. When practiced with the right intention, it can completely transform your financial reality, your relationships, and your overall sense of fulfillment. It's a simple act that is easy to overlook, but when embraced with sincerity and mindfulness, it has the power to change everything. Part 3. Real-life example. I want to share with you a story about a close friend of mine. Let's call him John. John was the kind of person you describe as responsible and hardworking. He had a steady job, a clear career path, and a good heart. Yet, despite all the effort he poured into his work and his life, he couldn't seem to escape the grip of financial struggle. Every month, His income seemed to evaporate before he could get ahead. Bills piled up. His savings were non-existent, and he felt trapped in a cycle of debt that grew more suffocating with each passing day. It wasn't that he wasn't doing everything right. John was living frugally, cutting back where he could, and always working overtime. But somehow, the harder he worked, the more it felt like he was running in place. He was constantly stressed, often feeling that no matter how much he strived, the universe just wasn't cooperating. One evening, while we were catching up, John voiced his frustration in a way that I could feel in my own chest. "I don't understand," he said, his voice tinged with exhaustion. "I do everything I'm supposed to. I work hard. I save what I can. I keep my expenses low. But it feels like no matter what I do, I'm still stuck in the same place. Why isn't anything changing?" I listened to him carefully, knowing how deeply his words resonated. It's a story so many of us know well, doing everything we think we're supposed to, but still facing the same struggles. I could feel the weight of his frustration, but at the same time, I knew something he didn't, something I'd learned from my own journey with Buddhism. "John," I said, after a moment of reflection, "what if I told you that it's not just about working harder or saving more? What if I told you that there's a different kind of wealth, one that doesn't come from the balance in your bank account, but from the balance in your heart?" He looked at me, intrigued but skeptical. So, I shared with him a concept that had completely transformed my understanding of abundance. There's a Buddhist teaching about generosity that goes beyond the material. I explained. It's the idea of giving without expectation, doing something for others without ever hoping for anything in return. But there's a deeper part of it. It's about where you give. It's not just about the act of generosity. It's about doing it in a space where no one can see it, where no one can thank you. You give because it aligns with your inner truth, because it's a reflection of your connection to the world, not because you expect a return. John was quiet for a moment, processing what I had said. "Wait," he asked slowly, "so you're saying that I should give, but not expect anything back? Not even recognition?" "Exactly," I replied. "In fact, the key to it is that you give anonymously. You make a habit of doing kind things for others, without anyone knowing. It's in the secret giving, in the unseen gestures, that you tap into something far greater than the material world. You're aligning yourself with the flow of positive energy, and that energy will eventually come back to you in ways you never imagined." John seemed unsure at first, as we often do when we hear something that doesn't fit within our usual frame of thinking. "But how will that help me with my money problems?" he asked, genuinely curious but still a little doubtful. "I understand your skepticism," I said, "but here's what I believe. When we give, especially without expecting anything in return, we begin to shift our own energy. We step out of the cycle of wanting and needing. We free ourselves from the attachment to material things and instead align with the abundance of the universe. By letting go of the need for recognition or reward, you create space for true wealth to enter your life, in ways that might not look like what you expected, but will feel right when it comes." John decided to give it a try, albeit cautiously. He started small. A few days later, he quietly bought groceries for an elderly neighbor who had fallen on hard times, leaving the bag at their door with no note, no name. Another time, he made an anonymous donation to a charity, one he had always believed in but never had the courage to contribute to before. He did all of this without telling anyone, and without expecting anything in return. At first, John didn't notice any immediate change, but after a few weeks, something remarkable began to happen. One morning at work, a colleague approached him with a business idea that John had never considered before, a side hustle that turned out to be more profitable than anything he had been working on. Later, a client unexpectedly paid him in advance for a project he had almost forgotten about. And just when things seemed especially tight, he received an anonymous donation that helped him cover a significant portion of his debt. John was astounded. It wasn't that he had suddenly become wealthy overnight. It was more subtle than that. The energy around him had shifted. Opportunities were opening up, and things were finally aligning in a way he had never experienced. The more he gave without expecting anything in return, the more abundance began to flow back into his life. It wasn't magic. And it certainly wasn't luck. What had happened was that John had tapped into a profound universal truth, that the act of giving without expectation creates a ripple of positive energy that begins to transform every aspect of our lives. His financial situation didn't magically change in an instant, but the opportunities and energy around him had shifted. The universe had responded to his generosity with its own kind of abundance, one that wasn't measured by material wealth alone, but by the fullness of life itself. And that, my friends, is the hidden magic of giving without expectation. When we stop looking for immediate returns and focus on giving from the heart, the universe conspires to return that energy in ways we can't always predict, but always recognize when it comes. Part 4. The Buddhist concept of abundance. What John experienced wasn't a mere coincidence. It was the natural result of aligning himself with the universal laws of generosity and abundance. In Buddhism, there is a fundamental concept known as the law of cause and effect, or karma. This ancient teaching tells us that everything we think, say, and do ripples out into the world, creating an impact far beyond our immediate awareness. Every action has consequences, whether positive or negative, and those consequences often come back to us in unexpected ways. But here's the key: the actions we take, particularly acts of kindness and generosity, not only affect others but also create a shift within ourselves. In the context of finances and prosperity, karma plays a vital role. When we give, when we offer something with no expectation of receiving in return, we are planting seeds of positive karma. These seeds may not bear fruit immediately, but over time, they begin to shape the energetic field around us. The universe, in turn, responds to these actions, aligning opportunities and circumstances with our internal energy. But there's something important to understand here. The universe does not give us what we want, it gives us what we are ready for. This is one of the most powerful, yet often misunderstood aspects of the Buddhist approach to abundance. If your mindset is rooted in fear or scarcity, if you're constantly worried about not having enough, about your financial problems, or about your lack of resources, then the universe will reflect that energy back to you. In other words, if you're always in a state of need, that's exactly what you will continue to attract: more need, more fear, and more uncertainty. On the other hand, when you shift your focus from scarcity to abundance, you start operating from a completely different energy. Imagine waking up every day with the belief that there is more than enough in the world for you, and that by giving freely, whether it's your time, your love, your attention, or your resources, you are actually expanding the flow of abundance into your life. This shift is incredibly powerful because it aligns your inner world with the abundance of the universe. The more you give, the more opportunities, people, and situations that align with that energy begin to manifest around you. Let me break this down with a simple example. If you were to start a small business and constantly worried about competitors, about scarcity in your field, or about not having enough clients, that fear and worry would create an energetic block. Your actions, decisions, and even the way you interact with customers would be tinged with this fear. But if, instead, you operate from a mindset of abundance, believing there is enough to go around, that your unique offerings are valuable, and that there are customers out there who will benefit from your services, the universe will begin to mirror that confidence. Opportunities will come from unexpected places, partnerships will form easily, and your work will begin to flow effortlessly because you've opened yourself up to the abundance that already exists. In Buddhist teachings, the concept of abundance goes far beyond material wealth. It applies to all aspects of life. When we approach life with an abundant mindset, we find that love, support, and connection also flow more easily into our lives. The relationships we have with others become deeper and more fulfilling. We stop holding on to the past, letting go of bitterness, and instead make room for more meaningful connections. The energy of abundance fills not just our bank accounts, but our hearts and minds as well. The practice of generosity, whether it's financial or emotional, creates a flow of energy that touches every part of our lives. By shifting our internal energy to one of openness and generosity, we create a life that is filled with prosperity in all its forms. This is the essence of true abundance, not simply having more money, but creating a life where love, peace, and opportunities naturally surround us. And when you align with this flow, when you truly embody the mindset of abundance, the universe will begin to bring things into your life that you never even imagined were possible. So, remember, prosperity is not just about what you receive. It's about the energy you give out. The more you give, without expectation, the more the universe will respond in kind, transforming not only your financial situation but every aspect of your life. So, what's the key takeaway from all of this? The simple yet incredibly powerful gesture of giving, especially when done secretly and anonymously, can unlock a flow of abundance in your life that you never thought possible. By practicing generosity without expectation, you are not just performing a kind act. You are aligning yourself with the energy of the universe, creating a ripple effect that attracts success, prosperity, and even inner peace. It's the kind of abundance that goes beyond money and material things, reaching into the very core of your existence. This practice isn't just about the financial rewards that may come your way, but about creating a mindset that's rooted in abundance rather than scarcity. When you understand that true wealth isn't just measured by what you have, but by what you give, everything shifts. The universe operates on the principle that when we give, we also receive. And the more we share, whether it's our time, our attention, our kindness, or our resources, the more we invite into our lives. Generosity becomes the doorway through which prosperity flows. I know it may sound counterintuitive. We live in a world where everyone seems to be focused on getting ahead, accumulating more, and hoarding resources. But this Buddhist teaching shows us a different path. A path that's not about fighting for more, but about creating space for abundance to flow to you by simply letting go of the need to control and giving without strings attached. And when you do this, you'll start to notice the magic happen. Opportunities you never thought possible will start to appear. New people will come into your life. Your financial situation will begin to improve, not by force, but by the natural flow of energy you've helped cultivate. So, I challenge you today to take action. Start small. Practice anonymous acts of kindness, whether it's paying for someone's coffee, leaving a thoughtful note, or donating to a cause you believe in without expecting anything in return. Hide your good deeds where no one can see them, not even those you help. Just watch as the universe responds. Because, sometimes, the greatest secret to abundance isn't about what we take, it's about what we give. And the beauty of this practice is that the more you give, the more you'll find that abundance isn't something that needs to be chased or fought for. It's something that finds its way to you when you align yourself with its flow.